Yeah, so continue reciting here. All I get when I ask for help about being able to do more for myself or get services for, like, I feel like I qualify for hospice care if the ones, I guess, that my records cooperate, because um, yeah, I have a social issue with my name that is affecting the way others behave towards me. So um, basically, in order to get any medical care, because I'm unemployed, all I have is the Department of Social Security services as an agency, that could offer some assistance if I don't acquire the assistance myself through other um, methods, such as, I don't know, direct solicitation from any fellow sentient being regarding employment. However, the employment laws, in this area are where I'm confined to, not soliciting house to house nor in public places. For what things could I do right for someone else to pay me? Like, how skilled am I? These are all the issues that are brought up to us since we are children in school. That's why when I was, a child in school, I had aimed, like, we all aim high. And then in reality, depending on our actually, for me, the reality about the choices I've had to make, or the options that others have created for me, are ultimately centered on uh, my internal status. Yeah, incredibly enough, like, my outside self could, you know, is a bit disregarded. Ever since I crossed the border here, it's more about the quality in my insights. And so in 2011 was discovered that I yeah, I gotta get um uh maybe what already happened, as I was saying earlier to myself. So um anyway, about laying down here in pain, unable to do anything else, because I got up to go to the Social Security Administration building for either a surgery appointment, or doctor visits, or even only picking up the prescription that I was given at the urgent care after being unconsciously raped here, where my son and myself couldn't protect me. We were both unconscious. That happened on February 12th. So I got a medicine that I cannot get yet, because well, I thought that maybe I don't have to get the medicine, but seeing as how well, I don't have any way to get employment, or any other direct communication with someone except these places. I went to the Social Security Administration building. I explained to somebody, to the best of my ability, um, how I'm sick, and I'm simply trying to get some help from friendly people, for medicine, or for surgery, for employment. So the friendly folk, to deal with me in a civilized manner, require that I have these cards. They invented these cards to yeah, to deal with the masses in this manner. So where's my little card? Anyway, the ID cards. Everybody knows what that is. So So for those documents to deal with these friendly folk to get greater help, that's where I am like kind of like they just keep saying one thing and another for many years, like more than 5 years, um about uh the concern that I've had the most is that, okay, I didn't talk directly with anybody myself except my lawyer, plus a few audiences with a few representatives from USCIS, including the judge that handled the deportation case I had, that ended in 2022. So, uh, my lawyer basically, yeah, said, um, your documents are missing, so file for missing documents with Department of Homeland Security. And anyway, that takes a long time. And I didn't want to file for missing documents that have a name that I should not have anyway, because that is giving me social problems. Because there was a false story wherein I had seemed as if I am trying to force myself into being a family with my son's dad. In fact, the opposite is true. Anyway, I gotta um, get a social security card that has at the hospital where they prescribe the medication for what is most wrong with me currently. I don't have the insurance um, for medicine, prescribed medicine. There, somebody had sent one in the mail. Although I don't have doctor visits, I wonder, oh, how is this? And so um, that went missing from my room, along with the social security card that has the other name. I've been saying the end of that name, the end of that wedding was supposed to have been, at first he was saying in 2011, and then was postponed to 2012, and then was postponed to 2022, and then the court started playing game the Pomona folk, and they made crazy hits schizophrenia to prevent from getting the divorce document until they told me through through the refrigerator noise that I had seemed like, even though they treat me so terribly and say such bad things in the Spanish schizophrenia, that I still don't get a divorce, as if they were all so terribly misbehaving towards me because I denied a divorce. Well, in fact, a gun had been pointed at me to get me to sign the wedding. I was trying to get away from the wedding before I even signed the papers. So to somehow have ended up in a story in front of big crowds, seeming as if I am the one that was forcing that union, is really just like, what happened? Have they all along been creating a false story about my relation to that male? And like, somehow behind my back, where I never had any media nor any like um any requirement for myself to create any negative propaganda against anybody, besides trying to comprehend what the source of the contempt against me is, and so addressing all those topics in the past. Currently, presenting myself to the department, to the Social Security Administration building today, there were a few people that were they were just being themselves, and I was being myself also to the best of my ability, telling the lady that my greatest concern is what kind of medical care I'm getting. I said, do you think, ma'am, I could get better medical care across the border in Mexico? Like, I told her my story. She didn't have an opinion about that. She chose to try to let me, like most people do when they listen to a problem that is out of their scope, because would either require them to say, well, I have a room and a bed you could stay in, because you're sick, a toilet and a bed and kitchens and refrigerator and all that. Instead, they're like, oh, well, yeah, invent these other agencies that help people who can't help themselves. And so that's where those 4 agencies have me like, oh, go to this one, go to that one. And it's been that way since 2018. I was trying to get a hold of someone from the Department of Homeland Security who will listen to my plight, who will say, okay, what has to happen, what has to have happened is the Ruizes were supposed to have been arrested for falsifying my birth record in 2009 when I sent the paperwork. And to confirm that they would do that, I wrote a confession that I put through the Department of Corrections in California, through the Sheriff's Department of Corrections, a confession in letter, because my son's dad had reassured me that they do read the mail, that they look at the mail. Besides that, he had me send some nudity photographs or something like that. So for a fact, I had confirmation that people in charge at the Department of Corrections at the time were aware about my confession, and they were acting against protocol. They were supposed to apprehend the Ruizes, charge them for felony for falsifying the record. They were supposed to ensure that I get a real birth record for myself, to get me a real ID, because they negated a real ID to me. They basically said, well, we're going to make you a criminal fictitious record. And because I am not a criminal individual, I am one of the most respected people in the world. I found myself in this territory oppressed and tried to kill myself with heavy chemicals, as I have already said, since 1999. And there I decided all my thinking that led me to choose to abstain from any narcotic dealing until I am in the territory where that is not a problem to myself nor anybody else. Unfortunately, I deviated slightly from that in 2012, 2014, attempting to medicate myself with the amphetamine product. So that already, because I talked obviously about that, I don't read minds. I said, will you, could I purchase, because the psychiatrist told me. So I simply said to whoever was there at the moment. And so because of that, those few deals that happened so long ago, I have, this extreme hate, I guess, from, or I don't know what to call that, where I feel like it's up to my son, to me, to say, okay, mom, let's go live across the border where maybe you can get better care, better communication with the people around me, because we are at liberty to say anything that we want to say. I don't know how in the world I got stuck in a mentality that is so suppressing, where the only time that I had suppressed speech was when I was near the friends in the congregation with the witnesses. Well, they always manipulated the social gatherings so that I could never become this person that sounds like one of the ones on the platform, because that is so easy once somebody has something to say. And so whenever the social gatherings, if I was asked a question directly from someone curious about something about me or my character, I responded to the best of my ability. Comprehending that politics or narcotics are topics that, like, why blah 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 about that? The law is the law. I'm not going to get in trouble. I already agreed. Doesn't matter what I think. If I think the law is wrong, if I think the government is wrong, don't matter. Matters that I am a single individual, even if I had one weapon, the best alternative for me is, if I'm not going to conform to what they've already decided in writing that they want my behavior to be, if I'm not going to willingly conform, I'd have to have a weapon, either to fend off someone who might, with a weapon, try to force compliance with that behavior. And so that I would say, well, I have equal right to harm you like this. And so that's where I don't choose firearms to defend myself, because I am against that. Instead, like, if somebody hated me, I would want to have like a different way to cope with the hate, such as getting away. Like, every hate has a cause. So whatever cause for hate, whatever claim against me, I could talk my way away from that hate. If not, if why would there be an if not? The only sentient being that was harmed physically through my body was my son's father, whose scars he has on his head, who already was with me at the trail twice, where he held a 20-pound dumbbell. Okay, I just sat there with my eyes closed. Like, if he just wanted to hit me in the head with the 20-pound dumbbell that day in the hot heat of the sunlight, after very intense schizophrenic treatment from the community, he did not. Why not? He must not sincerely believe in his heart that I was trying to harm it, because I was not. I was trying to wiggle away from what oppression that happens to my brain when I'm unconscious. From what males that wanted to become family who aren't. So that is